Welcome back, Pixel Nation. Comics Division here. How the hell are you? Now, before we get too deep in this video, I want to warn you that this is going to get a little bit more political than usual. So with that being said, I want to give you the opportunity to go and pull the ripcord just in case this is not your sort of thing. In case you didn't know, I bill myself as a centrist when it comes to social and political views. Back in 2016, I started going and taking the political compass test each year just to see where I fell on the spectrum. The last couple of years, I was firmly left of center. This year was a bit of a shock when I found myself more to the right of the line, and I'm not sure if that was because my views have changed or the political landscape. One of the inherent problems with being a centrist is that you tend to get labeled as a fence sitter, or you're accused of being fine with only murdering half the black population in some sort of compromise. But for the most part, it mainly manifests in the form of my conservative friends and family viewing me as being liberal, and my liberal friends and family viewing me as being conservative. In reality, it's more about the particular issue than the platform. And there's times where I just simply don't have an opinion on a particular issue. And this is because I'm either not very knowledgeable about it, I haven't put much thought into it, or I simply just don't care. To me, that's an acceptable answer. But to most people, I might as well have just said Hitler did nothing wrong. So why the lengthy explanation before getting into the topic? Partially to give you more insight to my thought process and perspective, and the other part is I'm willing to wager that a good chunk of my audience is conservative. And there's going to be times where we're not going to go and agree on a particular topic, and that's fine. We don't have to go and agree on everything, and this particular video is probably going to be one of those instances. The art of I agree to disagree has been lost on 2019, and at this point it's been kind of replaced with all-out war instead. I always took it as a way to get the perspective of the other side, even if I don't necessarily agree with it. Sometimes when you come into conflict with your audience, you get some rather explosive unsubbing and screeching comments about how I'm an SJW because I don't have the right opinion. All I have to say is confirmation bias is a hell of a drug. So keep that in mind before you start hate fucking the dislike button. So with that out of the way, let's talk about The Hunt. If you haven't heard about The Hunt, it is an upcoming satire thriller directed by Craig Zobel and written by David Lindelof. Yes, that David Lindelof. And it's been getting the 2019 treatment. However, this time the outrage is coming from the right rather than the left. Now, this movie I honestly couldn't give two shits about. It's from Blumhouse Productions, which I'm not a fan of. I'm a bit of a horror snob, and in my opinion, they've put out some of the shittiest horror movies in the last decade. They've been responsible for Paranormal Activity, Insidious, Sinister, The Purge, Get Out, Happy Death Day, Glass, and The Black Klansman. Really? The Black Klansman?
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong.
In a nutshell, The Hunt is a cheap Hollywood knockoff of The Most Dangerous Game, where a Russian aristocrat goes and hunts down a big game hunter from New York for sport. But this time, it's a bunch of wealthy liberal elites hunting down conservatives from red states for sport. And it got shelved because of the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton. Now, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. It always seems like video games and movies are being blamed for the ills of society, and that's typically just not the case. Back in the 90s, Doom was blamed for Columbine because the Columbine kids played it. There was also the Kalea shooting here in Texas, and they blamed the Fisher King. So it seems like Crazy is going to draw inspiration from basically anything, and at this point in time, if we continue to go and censor things, we're going to be living in a very sterile and, quite frankly, boring world. A lot of the outrage has been garnered because of the trailer and the use of the term deplorables, which is the term used by Hillary Clinton to describe Trump supporters during her failed 2016 run for the presidency. So far, I haven't been able to find a version of the trailer that actually used the word. Now, I did watch it several times, in fact, and unless I completely overlooked something, I don't see a reason why conservatives would be complaining about this trailer. Actually, I'm surprised there isn't any woke outrage over it, because it paints the liberal elites as the villains and the conservatives as the good guys. which is something you really don't see in Hollywood. Normally it's the other way around, like with the Purge series. Which reminds me, I think we're due for another Purge movie in 2020, so I'm wondering how that's gonna go over. Now, if the liberal elites were being portrayed as the good guys going around and hunting Trump supporters, I can understand why people would be pissed. However, that doesn't seem to be the case here. I'll include a link to the trailer so you can go and check it out for yourself and draw your own conclusion. Now, I suppose you can make a case for a lack of self-awareness for the studio as well as the marketing team, and movies have been delayed due to things that have happened in the real world. A good example of this is Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, where they delayed the film to go and edit out the Twin Towers. Polarization and political tensions have been running pretty high in the US. Both the El Paso and Dayton shootings were ideologically motivated, and on top of that, here in Texas, we just had a guy randomly shooting into an ICE office. So I don't know if a movie like this would go and add to those tensions. I try and make data-driven decisions when it comes to things. It's the reason why I don't start screeching about gun control whenever a mass shooting happens, because typically the laws that they want to go and enact wouldn't really have stopped anything. So we need to make sure that we're putting facts before feels. If this movie came out 10 or maybe 5 years ago, I don't see there being much of an issue. But now, 2019, I guess. However, there are some things I did notice that I'm really surprised nobody is talking about. Everyone's been razor focused on the whole deplorables outrage that it seems like something got overlooked. The Hunt is a product of the entertainment is female and the hashtag #MeToo era of entertainment. The protagonist of the film is Crystal, who is played by Betty Gilpin. She is a ass-kicking, unstoppable Mary Sue who overcomes every obstacle in the trailer with ease. Now, I don't mind kick-ass females. One of the best fight scenes in Iron Man 2 was Black Widow kicking the shit out of everyone. But it was done in such a way that it was very stylized to her character. She wasn't directly slugging it out with dudes twice her size and beating the shit out of them. There was enough plausibility for the suspension of disbelief. With Crystal, not so much. Now I'm speculating here, but I'm pretty sure the character has some sort of special forces training or some shit like that. You know, normally trailers, they give you a little bit of insight into the protagonist. Instead, we are just expected to accept it, and that she is capable of doing all these things without any context. Because women can do anything. To steal a quote from my friend Eglantine, it's a man with tits. And yes, I know, I haven't seen the movie yet, there could be a lot more to it than what I'm going over. But the point of the trailer is to give you an idea what the movie's about and whether you want to see it or not. But come on, buddy, it's current year. And because it's 2019, I find it kind of necessary to point out that I also have a problem with male protagonists being Mary Sues. I want to see my characters fail, get beat up, get outsmarted by the bad guys, and struggle to overcome the odds and beat the antagonist. That's what makes these characters interesting and these stories fun. Because if the protagonist succeeds all the time, the story gets rather dull and boring. It's the struggle that makes things interesting, and it's the struggle that makes us relate to the protagonist. Blah blah blah, hero's journey, you've heard it all before. And then there's the antagonist, who is also female, played by Hilary Swank. She is the evil mastermind behind the manor. There's a part of me that wonders if originally both the antagonist and protagonist were supposed to be male, but the studio was like, hey, they have to be women, because, you know, entertainment is female now, for some reason. Now, before I go and close things out, I want to read the title from this independent article. It pretty much sums up the next couple videos I'm going to be working on.
Now that we've got a female Thor, let's topple every pale, male, stale superhero character we can.
Christ, this bullshit's never gonna end, is it? If you think they're just gonna stop at superhero films, you're wrong. This is gonna be applied to all of entertainment. So folks, what are your thoughts on The Hunt? Leave your comments below. I'm actually kind of curious what your thoughts are. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you didn't, well, thanks for watching anyway. If you want to see more of my crappy content and shitty opinions, make sure to subscribe. Bash that bell for notifications. I've heard it occasionally works. And I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who support me on Subscribestar. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome.